Welcome to It Takes Two. My name is Chris, and I'm here to review the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16, episode 14. I need you to subscribe, like, share, comment, all the above. We are so close to 7,000 subscribers. I know with your help, we can achieve that goal. Now, listen here. We're going to do something different. Today, me and Blair Bear is not going to go detail by detail, scene by scene with this episode here. We kind of got the premise. It's the Brit versus Shamia episode. So we only going to talk about the major scenes of this episode so it can be more of a discussion base that gives me more time to not be as long-winded. I still may be long-winded, but I really want to hear what y'all think in the comments. So let's talk about the first major scene that I got down here. They are in the van, Shamia, Portia, Cynthia, and Phaedra, and we are kind of getting the prelude to the Shamia versus Brit showdown that's going to happen at the end of the episode, right? Shamia is feeling some type of way about Brit's donation to Grenada. She said, you cannot show up in a Rolls Royce and a Birkin bag and a small box. Now, and to me, I'm like, that's facts. You can't show up in that type of car and a Birkin bag and have 3 paper towels in a small box. Brit ended up giving 3 paper towels, and then she sent a cash app of $250 to Shamia. Now, listen here. I understand that Brit is going through this whole motion of trying to sue Bravo for $20 million, and we are going to talk about it. I'm waiting for Blair to get back. I understand the seating chart came out, and we're going to talk about that too. I'm just waiting for Blair to get back. But I think this is a prime example why Brit should have never been chosen for Real Housewives of Atlanta, because she would have been keeping up with the Joneses the whole time. She was a regular girl, a regular fan girl that loved everybody on the show, that wanted this hug from Kenya, right? And when Kenya didn't give her that hug or Kenya didn't give her that attention, all of a sudden we see the real Brit. I think, truth be told, Brit did what she could afford. And that's still bad, by the way. Like, I think there is something to, hey, I did what I can do, but we are going to talk about something later on in the episode, which I am not a fan of. And me, honestly, I am not a fan of donation shaming. Because usually whenever somebody start donation shaming, they usually doing it in comparison to what everybody else gave or what they gave. So you hear people saying, I did this and I did this and I gave this and I gave this, you know, breaking their arm, patting themselves on the back, while at the same time giving a comparison of you only gave or you only gave. Now, here's the thing about it. I feel like it is a bad look. She should have only gave the cash app and leave the 3 paper towels for her house. The 3 paper towels is the most disrespectful thing to me, in my opinion. I ain't gonna hold you. I think the 3 paper towels gave off the whole like look of I'm doing the very bare minimum. She was better off just sending a cash app from the jump. But let's keep going because we're going to talk about this again, right? So Portia tells Shamia Drew should apologize for that lapdog comment. And here's the thing about it. Right now, you know how Portia does. Portia have her little outburst, her little tantrum. And now in this episode, Portia and Drew supposed to have made up. They supposed to be friends now. Things of that nature, right? So now she's in the van with Shamia, and she said, you know what? Drew should apologize for that lapdog comment. Mind you, this is not at the table with everybody there. This is after the fact, right? After Drew done called her a lapdog at least 5 times. Shamia tells us in the confessional, when she brings up Drew's name out in public, people be like, who? She says she'd rather be a lapdog than unforgettable. Here's the thing about it, Shamia. I'm tired of you trying to, I don't even know what you're trying to do, to be honest. Blair Bear, I was about to come up with something, but I honestly don't know what she's trying to do. What is this fake beef you have with Drew? I mean, we know what it is. You over here being a lapdog for Portia. But this whole thing of when I go out in public and I bring up Drew's name, first of all, why are you bringing up my name? Don't you have an album you're trying to complete? Don't you have work you're trying? Are you trying to build up your name? Because when Shamia's name come up, people just say, "Oh, that's Portia's little friend." Because we can't mention Shamia without mentioning Portia. So at least with Drew have things that we can say, "Oh, okay, she has an album. Oh, okay, yeah, we saw her on the game. Oh yeah, we saw her in the TLC movie. Oh, we seen her. Like Drew was on Real Housewives of Atlanta before you. This is your first season as actually a peach holder. What you are trying to achieve, which is actually kind of sad. What you are trying to achieve, Drew have already done it. You're trying to get your name out there as a singer. Drew has already done that. I'm not saying Drew is the biggest singer, but I'm just saying that you haven't even achieved what Drew has done. Drew have managed for many of us, and I'm going to speak for me personally, because Blair's not here, so I'm not going to speak for Blair. But Drew has personally, for me, every time I seen Drew on camera, I did not care for her. But Drew have personally turned the tide and actually became one of the most likable peach holders of this season. It's a shame that she's on the end of the bench on the seating chart. It makes no sense. So this whole idea that she's over here talking about Drew on the radio, talking about I'd rather be a lapdog than unforgettable. Well, you're an unforgettable lapdog. And here's the thing about it. I say this from a guy perspective. Listen here. If you want people to stop calling you a lapdog or you are, you regret doing that whole picture and things of that nature, stop bringing it up so we can be reminded of it. You are somebody's wife. If I was your husband, I'd be like, you need to stop doing this. like we are representing each other when we go out here, and you over here beefing with Drew. You're punching down. Both of y'all punching down. And truth be told, well, actually, the way Drew is, you actually punching up. Because Drew is basically your OG. I stand corrected. She ain't punching down. Shamia is not punching down. She's trying to punch up at Drew. I never thought I'd see the day to where like Drew is actually like someone's OG. But let's move on. So like the girls are having lunch. I think it's Kelli, Drew, Britt, and Angela. They are having like this beautiful lunch in front of this beautiful scenery and with all the mountains and things of that. And you know, Kelli got to stir the pot. She said, "Hey, who's black?" You know, she hold up a black napkin. And everybody wants to know who black is. And Drew said he's just a friend. And here's the thing. Do I believe her? No. I don't believe that black is just a friend. But that's not the point. I think this is actually the work of Portia, right? I think the whole time Portia knew that Drew wasn't after Dennis. Dennis told you that. Drew told you that. And I think like even Dennis was like she ain't after me. Like she likes black. But I think Portia is actually low down for actually bringing up another name while the divorce is still going. It still is like processing. So the whole idea that black is now in the picture and that could be referenced potentially by Ralph, I think that's foul. Now, she said he's just a friend. Not true. I mean, cool. I don't believe her. But that's not the point. The point is she did not put his name out there. But when it came down to Portia and who she is allegedly messing with, they bleeped it out. But they didn't bleep out Black's name. And in a way, I feel like that did not protect Drew and what she has going on in her real life. So we back in the van on the with the other group, and Portia and Shamia say I love you to each other. They hug, and Shamia's in the confessional talking about she got her best friend back smiling. Well, you ain't got her back now. June 9th, Monday. Y'all not friends today. I wonder what happened. What transpired? That y'all got y'all best friend back and y'all... Look, I really don't understand. And like I said, I am willing to be ignorant here. I don't really get the whole female best friend / we make romantic jokes at each other / my heart breaks when I don't I don't get it. I'm sorry. I have female best friends. I have male best friends. And there is a standard that have to be met for us to continue to be best friends. And when that standard is not met, then we will not be best friends. I don't get the whole let me smell your finger. I'm gonna put in my butt. I'm not hip. I'm very new to this, not true to this. Blair Bay, do you understand? She don't understand either. I think the whole dynamic with Portia and Shamia is weird, or was weird, because they're not friends now. I think it's always been weird. The fact that you're willing to sit on another grown woman's lap while you are engaged to a man or married to a man or whatever you want to call it, it's weird. The dynamic is just weird, but I'll move on, right? So we finally see Angela. She finally gets in touch with Charles, and he's on FaceTime, and he really don't want to talk. And I want to just go back to what I was saying before, if I said it in this episode. There is the dynamic with Charles and Angela is very interesting, right? And it's very interesting because I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, and this is what I mean. Is Charles only this way on camera, and she is expecting something from Charles that he normally doesn't do on camera, but now he has to kind of like put on for the cameras, and he's like, I'm not going to put on. So is she kind of putting that pressure on him? That's why he kind of seems irritated. Now, that is not me giving Charles bail out of jail, because I'll say this is not the Charles and Angela show. Meaning that, hey, Charles, for 5 minutes out of the episode, when they actually show a scene of y'all two, it will be nice that you will represent her at least, nicely. Nobody's telling you to hold her hand. No one's telling you to basically give her roses and things of that nature. We're just telling you don't be mean to her on camera. That's literally it. Don't seem irritated on the fact that y'all are talking. And I don't know what it is. Now, Charles, in his playing days, he always been the bully. So I don't know if it's a reputation thing to where he's trying to keep up a facade after the fact, but it would be nice for him not to be mean. I'm not telling him to be romantic. I'm not telling him to do the most. I'm just saying don't be mean. Angela feels like, oh, Charles is only acting this way because this is the first anniversary that we are not together, and usually on our anniversary we get anniversary sex, and that's why he's acting this way. And I'm just like, whatever you gotta tell yourself, Angela. Because you also said that your daughter is your best friend, but you didn't know that she got married. You see, the thing about Angela, which is actually pretty smart, she hides in plain sight. And just because we gonna let you go this season, Angela, because you gave us a great first season, great rookie. We gonna put you in the likes of Kenya in her first season, Nene in her first season, things like that. The fact that you kind of low key broke up Portia and Shamia, like, you have done your job this season. So we're not going to focus on your family. But second, the season 17, if you come back, which I believe she will, we're going to focus on that dynamic between, for one, you and your sister. Number two, you and your daughter. You get what I'm saying? And then I don't even care about the Charles and Angela dynamic, to be honest. I don't care about Secret Baby. I don't care about a public baby. I care more about Angela's personal life when it comes to her family, because that seems more interesting to me. So let's move on to another scene that stood out to me. We get another prelude of the showdown between Shamea and Brit. They are pre-gaming, and before they are heading out to dinner, right? So now Shamea is getting people shots, and Shamea is like, I don't want to pressure anyone into taking any shots. All right, Shamea, I hear you. Now, the reason why that is passive aggressive, because in the beginning of the episode, there was things talking about how Brit got too drunk, and then she was throwing up on the side of the road, embarrassing, and basically she felt like she was pressured to drink by Shamea when she said she didn't want to drink. So now Shamea is basically like, hey, I don't want to pressure anyone into taking any shots and things like that. And Brit, in this moment, she's like, look, I'm willing to take a shot. Like what's the problem? And Shamea is throwing these little passive aggressive shots at Brit because she's low key mad about the donations. And this is what I mean when we say lapdog. Shamea is all bark, no bite. What does it really mean when Shamea is mad at you? She can't throw shade very good, to be honest. It's passive aggressive. It comes off as if it's kiddie. It's not genius. It doesn't make us laugh. It doesn't make us think that she can stand toe to toe with the greats. Like, you're beefing with Brit. Brit is one and done. You're trying to make a name for yourself at the end of the season by beefing with someone that we all know is going to be one and done on the show. I don't even understand. I guess she was trying to make an attempt of trying to carry Portia bones by beefing with Drew. But you look foolish there. And every time you go at Drew basically keep hitting you over the head with lapdog. So this whole idea of trying to basically punch down at Brit, it doesn't make sense. And truth be told, Brit is an easy target based on how she carried herself throughout this season. And Brit about to gather you up at dinner. So I'm like, the fact that you can't really the fact that you feel like you have to be passive aggressive with Brit, why you gotta be passive aggressive with Brit? Angela flat out said it. Brit, you're a whore. That's Angela words. That's not my words. Like you don't have to be passive aggressive with Brit. Brit ain't nobody. But let's move on, right? So we are finally at the dinner. We are at the evening dinner. And Kelli begins to thank the ladies for donating. Now, here's the thing about it. Portia set it off. Portia said, it's good that we can band together for this cause. I came in with $1,000. I have a problem with that, right? Here's my problem. I do believe there is a such thing as donation shaming, right? I do believe there is a such thing as your right hand, or this is my left. This is, I guess when y'all see it, this is my right. But the right hand should not let the left hand know what it does. So if I did donate anything, I don't want it like I'm doing it so it won't be broadcast and things like that. So Portia donated $1,000. That kind of kicked it off for Shamia to say, yeah, you know, we can't pull up in these Bentleys and these Birkins and then like not really give when it counts. Brit said, that felt like a little shade. Now, everything that Brit was feeling throughout this episode, because she was like, this is weird energy that Shamia's giving me. Everything that she felt about Shamia, she's like, I knew she felt some type of way about me. And when Brit called Shamia out directly, said that felt like a little shade, of course, Shamia, all bark, no bite. She said, oh, like, who was throwing shade? I'm not throwing shade. Because if I was throwing shade, you would feel it. I don't even know what that means. Here's the thing about it, Shamia. You are about to make a side with someone who we all collectively do not really like. I don't know a lot of Brit fans out there who watch this show. I'm not one of them. And in this moment, when it was time for you to say, yes, I'm talking about you because it was disrespectful for you to bring 3 paper towels as a donation in a box, right? That is disrespectful when I feel like you could have gave more. She could have said that in the moment, but in this moment, she's backpedaling, which I'm like, why are you backpedaling with Brit? You should have backpedaled with Drew when Drew was gathering like all 4 of y'all at the same time. But the fact that you're backpedaling with Brit? Brit says you are being passive aggressive. And if you have something to say, then say it. And here's the thing about it. They are going back and forth. Shamia's basically talking about, I'm not shading you, but since you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. She's talking about you brought 3 paper towels and then you gave a cash up of $250. I just feel like you cannot be the rich girl and then show up like this to give a donation. And truth be told, Shamia, facts. I agree with you. I just don't agree with you trying to be passive aggressive with it. Say it. Say, hey, listen, even in Brit's tagline, she's talking about how she's rich. When like they show the opening credits and things like that. You cannot give me 3 paper towels. If someone came to me with 3 paper towels as a donation, I'd be like, man, just take that back to your house, man. I know you just grabbed the 3 paper towels you had in your pantry. Just take that back home. Right? Now, here's the thing about it, which is actually interesting, right? Brit says that, hey, Shamia, you pulled me to the side and we had a private conversation. For one, you said, give what I wanted to give. There was not a number that you told us to actually give. You said, give what we are able to give. You pulled me aside and you talked about the paper towels. You brought it up to me. You told me that I should give more and basically I missed the mark. You told me that privately. Now you're trying to do it passive aggressively, publicly trying to put me to shame. I don't really understand what you are doing here. And truth be told, now that I agree with. Now I'm on Brit's side when it comes to that. Shamia, I give you respect for pulling Brit to the side and say, hey, you missed the mark on this. we are actually trying to do a good cause. Hey, I spent $250 on snacks. We are the Real Housewives of Atlanta. We cannot miss the mark here, right? But the whole idea that now you're trying to use a private conversation and someone's missing the mark as a way to be a mean girl. This is not girls activity. And this is not me even trying to defend Brit, because Brit should not be back next season, period. And like, she will not. But it's the idea that, oh, you want to actually jump on somebody. You want to jump on, for one, you wanted to jump on Drew for Portia, and now you're jumping on Brit for whatever reason, when you could have easily just confronted it. Now you look like a coward. Now you look phony. Now you look corny. Now you just look like a bully. Kelli says, who is supposed to be, mind you, Brit's best friend, at least that's how it was introduced to us. If you are supposed to be that girl, let's be that girl in all aspects of our lives. And I'm like, what is Kelli role on the show? Because I feel like Kelli is someone who is going to jump ship on whichever ship is flourishing in the moment. She is going to jump ship. I understand. I do believe in holding your friends accountable, but also you're my best friend, or you at least my friend. Before there was a Kelli and Shamia thing that was on screen, I understand that they may have bonded off screen and things of that nature. But before all that, they was introduced to us as friends on screen. I don't understand why Kelli feel like she has to pile on Brit. And that's the thing about it. Whenever I see Shamia or Kelli or Portia in these type of situations, it's always a pile on. It's always a, hey, Drew, this Kelli, hey, Drew, everybody here, or you have a problem with everybody in the group, which is basically a signal for everybody to pile on Drew. And Drew handled all of y'all. So now Shamia's in a situation, Kelli's in another situation, Portia's in a situation to where they basically all piling on Brit. And here's the thing about it. Let me talk about Portia's $1,000 donation. I understand that we should not donation shame, but I've given $1,000 before to charity, and I make nowhere near the money that Portia gives. So some people can look at Portia's giving as the literally bare minimum. Birkins cost more than $1,000. Real ones, at least. Some shoes, some women's shoes cost more than $1,000. Heels cost more than $1,000. So some would say, actually, Portia, your $1,000 is very different than let's say Brit's $1,000. I think Brit is trying to keep up with the Joneses. So if you want to do the bare minimum, I think the $1,000 is actually below your bare minimum, Portia. Or maybe Portia's trying to keep up with the Joneses. Maybe she ain't got no money either. Who knows? Maybe everybody on this show is broke. Who knows? You got Angela talking about she's millions of dollars in debt and things of that nature, or I don't think it's $1 million, but I think it's like hundreds of $1,000s in debt. You got Drew going through a divorce to where Ralph is basically in control of the money and things of that nature. Is weird. You know, you got Phaedra, who basically she scanned her way to basically coming back on the show and just basically coming just for the vacations. You got Brit, who basically trying to give off as if she's rich, but she's giving 3 paper towels. I really don't understand. You got Kelli over here who owes $150,000 in like divorce fees. Maybe all these women are broke. Maybe the only rich one is Shamia. Like it's strange. So in my opinion, even though Portia gave more than Brit, I don't know if that is something. I don't know if it's equal. On the surface, it could be like, oh yeah, Portia gave more. But at the same time, if you gave $1,000, but at the same time you over here, you spend $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, who knows? But at the same time, that's why I said we should not donation shame anyway. You got me over here donation shaming. If it's a donation and you are leading a donation drive and things like that, tell us specifically what to give. Don't put it on my heart, because people don't got the same heart. But let's keep going, right? So Portia brings up her issue with Brit. She said, hey, Brit, I'm getting word that you don't really feel welcome in the group. and like what's going on with that? And now Brit, she feels like her back is up against the wall, and her and Portia begins to go at it and things like that. But Brit don't know how to talk to people, right? Now, of course, could this have been bad timing because Brit is already on hot with Shamia? Of course. But at the same time, like, there is something to, hey, you need to learn how to de-escalate situations, Brit. She's saying she don't feel welcome in a group. Portia tried to explain, hey, we had a group chat. A number came into the chat. I didn't know who it was, so I asked who it was. And honestly, I think another reason why Brit don't feel welcome in the group, because I think a lot of people in the group made their choice. I think they side with Kenya. And they kind of view you as kind of unhinged. So maybe what you feel is valid, maybe it's right or wrong, and also you're the new girl. So it's not on them, even though some people may feel like it is, it's not on them to basically put the red carpet down for you, the newbie, to be like, oh, we're happy Brit is on the show. You, as the new girl, need to actually like make yourself welcoming so people can be around you. As Frederick's going to tell us in the show, Kelli has thrown at least 10 events this season, and we on episode 14. Kelli is like, look, I'm a new girl. I'm trying to find situations because it's not like we seen them in Kelli's house and things like that. But Kelli's like, I want y'all around me, so I'm going to throw these events. I'm going to throw this trip and things like that. You threw one country club that you probably never been to, Brit, event and didn't even feed everybody. Straight up had them embarrassed. You know what I mean? But let's keep going. So the prime minister finally arrives and everybody had to stop arguing. And I wrote this in my notes, right? He arrives and he tells them, like, we're happy that you're in Grenada. And that's what he's telling the group. He said, we're happy you are in Grenada. Hopefully y'all having a good time. Shamia, which is clutch. I do like the fact that Shamia asked him, hey, sit down and have a drink with us. Like, basically, like, just don't come by and leave, because he definitely was about to just leave. So he sits down and he's sitting down. They laugh and they all conversing and things like that. And I wrote down in my notes, Shamia, you are married. Do not let this show break up your marriage. And this is what I mean by that. This is not the first time I've seen Shamia always complimenting, and this is the confessional, so it's not like she's saying it to the guy. But I just feel like Shamia is just someone that just do too much. It's just too much sometimes. Shamia is the most single married person I've seen this season on the show. Drew going through a whole divorce, and Drew not even this thirsty. Oh, he's easy on the eye. He look good. And then you talk about this, and then you talk about that. It just comes off as if you're trying too hard to be the cool, easygoing girl. And I'm like, listen here. Don't let this show, by you trying to fit in and people please and things of that nature, break up your real marriage. I'm just saying, right? And then, the prime minister, they basically having a discussion amongst themselves. I think he finally leaves and things like that. They having a discussion amongst themselves of who would be the best for the prime minister, because they did not see a ring on his finger. So they assume that he is not married. He said he's single and things like that. And I will say this, though, when it comes to rings, because Brit was like, some married men are married and they don't wear their rings. I'm one of them. I don't wear my rings in the house. I don't wear jewelry in the house. When I step outside, I'll put my ring on. Blair's the same way. We don't wear jewelry in the house. I think Blair just copying me, to be honest. Blair thinks I'm cool, so she does mostly everything I do. I don't like jewelry. I'm not a big fan of jewelry. But out of respect for my marriage, right, I wear my ring when I'm in public, when I step outside. But the minute I come back in that house, that thing come off and go right back in the jewelry box. See, I have no ring on now. And if you watch a lot of the videos, you probably will not see us with our rings on. If you see us with our rings on, we probably about to go somewhere, or we just got back from being out somewhere and things of that nature. But Angela decides to volunteer information to us that Charles don't wear his wedding ring outside. And that's been a problem in their marriage and even in therapy. And it bothers her. And I'm like, Charles just seemed like the type of person that's basically just a bulldog. He is just someone who basically, like, you're not gonna get me to do whatever like you want to do. Even the simplest thing, I'm going to basically bark back at you. And my thing is this: I don't understand why Angela shared that information. Even Portia said something funny in the confessional. She was like, "Do Angela got Tourette's or something like that?" Like she just blurting out information. And I will say this though: when it comes to wedding rings, I see some people that be like, "Oh, my man better keep his wedding ring all the time" and things like that. I get it, right? If Blair really had an issue with me not wearing my ring in the house, out public, I always wear my ring. I even keep a ring in the car just in case I forget my ring and things like that. Because here's the thing about it. When I wear my ring, I get too distracted. I take it off. I start spinning it on the table and stuff like that. Like I'm too immature, right? So, but my thing is, if it bothers her, talk about Charles and Angela, that, hey, this little minor thing, like wear your ring, I think there has to be a compromise. I don't think Angela have a problem with Charles not wearing his ring in the house. It's when he goes out. And now that kind of leads to the thing of these secret babies or the secret child. Phaedra over here throwing shade, talking about, I ain't know Charles was married. So I wonder why Angela said that, especially since she's talking about Charles in a way that I'm like, why are you volunteering that information where you and Charles, based on what y'all show on camera, doesn't seem like y'all really like each other. It seems like y'all love each other, but it seems like hey, I don't feel like talking to you. I don't feel like being around you. Don't hug me. Don't touch me. But it is what it is. They bring her out a cake for her anniversary to let her know, like, hey, your anniversary was the other day. Here's a cake and things like that. So they are all leaving, and Brit is trying to basically restart the argument that she was having with Portia. Portia's like, I'm over that. The scene is over. The prime minister gone. I'm trying to go back to the house. Right? So they are leaving, and Phaedra is in the car with Brit, and she actually gives Brit amazing advice to the point where even Angela, who's not a fan of Phaedra, said, oh, you need to write a book. That was amazing. Phaedra tells her, hey, you are self-sabotaging. You need to show yourself friendly, and you are not doing that. And the fact that Phaedra said that, and whole time Brit's response was, oh, do I gotta be phony and things like that? No, Phaedra's like, just be friendly, like be nice. That's not being phony. Like if the girls want to come around, make sure you have something wait for them when they come to the house. You're not welcoming, and by that you putting yourself in the hot seat numerous times over and over again, right? So Shamia, she's in the other van, and she gets a call from her husband, right? Her daughter, unfortunately, Shiloh is sick. She feels like she failed as a mom because she is living her best life while her daughter is homesick, right? Now, here's the thing about it. Something happened. The husband is on the phone with her, is basically saying, we got to get rid of this nurse or like whatever, because Shiloh, because of her condition, if she gets a cold, it could be a prolonged cough. It could be more than a cold. Her immune system don't fight off a cold as easy as, let's say, another child would. So there have to be certain precautions that have to be taken to protect Shiloh and things of that nature. And I think she was in a cold room and she wasn't swaddled, or basically her pajamas wasn't on. She wasn't protected by the nurse. And they said, we got to get rid of her because of Shiloh's condition. We can't be basically risking this. And if she is still feeling bad tomorrow, this is the husband talking, I'm going to take her to the doctor. And Shamia just feels horrible because she's in, as she said, she's in Grenada and her daughter is sick. Now, here's the thing. I've seen some people online, and I'm going to bring up both points, and I'm going to let you know which side I'm on, right? You have somebody who feels like, or somebody's people on Twitter, who feels like Shamia is irresponsible by being on this trip, by being on this show, because she doesn't need the money. She doesn't need the money, but yet she's on this show, and her daughter is sick, right? Okay, sure. And then you have the other people who feels like it's just an unfortunate situation that every time that Shamia goes out or takes a trip, something happens to her child. It's unfortunate, but things happen, and we basically just work our way back from that. That does not mean that Shamia should not be able to work. And I lean more on that side. I think people with no money usually use money as the goal, and that's the end all be all, right? So they see Shamia in totality as, why are you on this show? Why are you working? Because you don't need the money. Why aren't you home with your daughter or home with your children or just home, right? And making sure things are in order besides you getting a phone call while you're overseas and now you're in a predicament to where you can't do anything, right? I would say that people still aspire to do things. Shamia has the money, but she still wants to be a singer, which that is not a problem. People still aspire to have goals. She wanted to have her own peach. She has a peach. So just because she has the money, and truth be told, her husband is probably the one that basically support their whole lifestyle, there is something to, hey, I want to make my mark in the world too. And I'm not saying that Shamia, because Shamia never say this. This is just us having a discussion. It's not about being a mother is not enough or it is enough. It's about, hey, I do aspire to do other things. And she should, as a person, as Shamia, she should feel the freedom to feel like, hey, if I want to work on a TV show on Real Housewives of Atlanta, or if I want to be a singer, or if I need to travel, I should feel the freedom to travel. I put as much precautions as the mom to make sure that things will still flow when I'm not there. It just so happens that the ball was dropped. She should not feel guilt, talking about Shamia. She should not feel guilt that her daughter is sick and she's not there, because you did everything in your power to make sure that, hey, the ball is not dropped. And guess what? Human error happens all the time. That's why, guess what? He said, listen, we got to get rid of this nurse, this night nurse. And guess what? It's within their right to get rid of the night nurse. But many times than not, that doesn't mean that if Shamia was there, something else wouldn't have happened. Or if she wasn't there or is there, that balls won't be dropped. So I think there needs to be grace that needs to be given to Shamia, and Shamia should give herself grace. I understand I'm not a father. I don't have a child. God willing, hopefully the Lord bless me and Blair with a child. But I can see and I can sympathize and empathize with Shamia that she really feels some mommy guilt. And I hope that she gives herself grace to know that, hey, I was working. I was working. And I did my best of putting precautions to make sure that my baby or my child was basically getting the best care that they could get. I got a nurse here 24 hours around the clock. But, mistakes happen. And unfortunately, that had to happen while she was out at work, on camera, things like that. But hopefully Shiloh's in a better position now. And hopefully there is peace. You know what I'm saying? Shamia, she is just, she is crushed. It basically ruined her night for her, So they all get back to the crib and they trying to console her. They say, let's get around and let's say a prayer. They hug Shamia. Shamia's crying. She's in a robe. She's wondering why everybody quiet. And they're like, we're just here to support you and things of that nature. And then they crying. And then this weird moment happens. Blair Bear. It was weird, wasn't it? Shamia comes over Brit comes over to Shamia. And she just starts encouraging her, but in the most weird way that I've ever seen in my life. She basically like, whatever beef we have is over. I love you. I'm sorry. I'm effing sorry. I got your back. I love you. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I love you. Give me a hug. I love you. Anything you need, I'm going to do it for you. Matter of fact, let me put my titties on the counter. I'm not over exaggerating. You need to feel better. Let me put my titties on the counter. And then everybody starts laughing. Shamia's in the confessional like, what the hell? What's going on here? You know what I'm saying? And now the show ends, or at least this episode ends, with Brit's titties on the counter. Here's my thoughts about this season. Here's my thoughts about it, right? Britt, we already know you're gone. But Shamia needs to be gone too. And this has nothing to do with her child. I think Shamia, as long as you are on this show, I think this show is actually going to be, do you know how like a show is supposed to basically propel you to the next level and things like that? I think as long as you was on this show with Portia, you will always be second to Portia, which would make you third to Drew. Or it like, I don't see a situation to where Shamea can undo all the harm she did this season next season. Even though the fact that, hey, Portia and her are not really friends anymore, we know that in your heart of hearts, you want to be friends with Portia. So either if y'all start off next season as not friends, we gonna know, like, eventually you gonna be in the confessional again next season is, I got my best friend back. And truth be told, I understand that you was always a friend of and people always seen you around, but you wasn't given a peach back then. For whatever reason, I don't know. And now when given the peach, and then your tagline basically saying you always been the one, and I'm just like, no, you're not the one. There is tiers when it comes to like friendships and things like that. And when it comes to your friendship with Portia, it's very obvious it's not equal. Portia would never view you as an equal. Because if Portia really cared about you, she'd tell you, girl, take that lapdog picture off your Instagram. Chris about to pull it again for this episode. So, because of that, sorry I have to do this. Shamea, get off my TV screen forever. I messed up the throw. Get off my TV screen forever. I don't want to see Shamea on my TV screen no more. I don't want to see Shamea on my TV screen no more. Britt and Shamea should be off the TV next season. Unfortunately, Portia will be back next season because they basically building Real Housewives of Atlanta on the back of Portia, which is going to fail. But I don't need to see Shamea no more because I actually think episode by episode she gets worse and we get to see the real Shamea. And the real Shamea, in my opinion, is not a girl's girl. She's a mean girl. She's a mean girl. Low-key a bully. I don't really have a problem with her bullying Britt because Britt, you brought 3 paper towels. But at the same time, if you had a private conversation about someone missing the mark, and if you was to protect that conversation, I would say, oh, you actually really cared about the donation and actually making the mark. But no, in this moment, you wanted to use that moment to donation shame, and I'm not with that. I can't get with that. As if Portia gave like $5,000. So I'm not with that. Not at all. Let me know what y'all think about this episode. Let me know what y'all thought about the whole Shamea and Brit thing. The fact that Shamea even had me agree with Brit at any point in this episode is reasons enough why she got a pink slip, right? Let me know how y'all feel about the donations, the whole Charles and Angela situation. It's very evident that we are near the end of the season because now it just seems like the season is now starting to feel like it's too long. And that's why I feel like Real Housewives of Atlanta or the Real Housewives series, I think at least for this series, it should be 12 episodes, 12 to 13. Now it's getting a little bit too long. Let me know what y'all think. I see y'all later on this week to talk about the after show. Bye.